All right, welcome to our viewers. Thanks so much for joining our webinar today, Best of All Worlds, Integrated Global Workflows with Cloudian and eMAM. Joining us today are Chuck Bulow, Vice President of Business Development at eMAM, and Chris Cambridge, Solutions Architect at Cloudian. Welcome, Chuck and Chris. Before we begin, I just want to point out to those of you who have just joined that we'll be taking questions at the end of the webinar. So go ahead and enter any of those questions that arise in the Questions tab at the bottom of your screen. And with that, I'll hand it over to Chuck.
Great, thank you. Welcome all. We're going to be going through a number of slides here, just kind of presenting the idea of eMAM, a media asset management system, connecting with the Cloudian storage, and being able to then share media, view media, search for media, and virtually, see the media virtually anywhere around the world if you'd like, through basic setups and so on. So we'll go ahead and go through a few slides here, and again, ask those questions as needed. In a typical environment, most of our clients are typically shooting video. They have audio files, video files, productions, and so on, pretty much anywhere around the world. And so needing to kind of centralize all of that media becomes kind of troublesome in being able to manage all of that media as well. So with that, typically those files are stored locally on drives, could be in the cloud, could be, an archive and so on. But typically it's not available for everyone to view and see. So therefore, add zero value to that media because it's not available to use in productions and so on. Some of our clients actually then store and centralize this media and then be able to make it available for those to preview and see typical shots, dailies, any kind of media that is available that's shot somewhere and then made available to view for other users and so on. So the idea really here is to take eMAM and then put it into the eMAM system and store it, and then make it available through search, quick searches or advanced searches and so on, and of course all making the media available for all your editors to be able to view and see and start working on. The other key thing is also when the media is available, to be able to share that media and collaborate with not only your team members, but then also customers as well. So that's really, really important that you provide the ability to share that media, view the media, and then of course collaborate and comment on the media as well, and do that. So the idea really is, the demands right now that we have are how do we connect all of these different locations and so on. So we're going to kind of go through that here over the next few slides and talk about how we connect all of this using the eMAM system. So with that, typically users are also looking for an intuitive interface where they can actually just go in and search for something, view it, subclip, log it, mark it, whatever they want to do with it, and then be able to, preview that inside editing machines and so workstations as well. So the idea would be is that the media is uploaded from anywhere and everywhere. The media is centralized at some point, and then the editors are able to then view and preview that media and then import that into their projects as well. So that's really, really key. And then, of course, as I mentioned, sharing that media in a very simplistic platform. You can also brand these types of platforms as well, but typically what you're wanting to do is to be able to then share that media through either proxies or originals, but typically most customers will go ahead and share out a good quality proxy for users or clients or team members and so on. So just kind of make that available. So what we've done with eMAM, eMAM's been in existence for many years now. Typically in a MAM system, you're shipping out and buying servers, running a big platform and so on locally on premise and so on. So that's still obviously, you're capable of doing that right now to acquire media, organize the media, create the media, produce it, deliver it in an archive. That's typically what we do. Now what we've done is actually then moved into the cloud space and made eMAM available for cloud launching. So you could have a platform basically in the cloud for uploading files, video, images, documents, PowerPoints, whatever it might be. And then also now we do support live ingest. So if you do have live events, you can bring those in, acquire those, organize those. You can also even edit those actually while they're coming in as well. Now, on the organizational side, eMAM will organize based on categories and so on, and be able to store that for easy search later. What we also use, which is really important too, is in the cloud, we use AI services to actually tag the media. So facial recognition, speech to text, and so on. You have the ability to kind of go in and tag this media automated in an automated fashion to be able to search for different shots and things for your production, or different looks and feels for maybe news or sports, and then be able to then produce it, deliver it, and then archive it as well. So that's really what eMAM is all about. So again, tagging of the media is really important within a MAM system, being able to add the specific metadata, custom or basic metadata or custom metadata that you need as well within that system. And then again, also having a very basic, intuitive platform to display that, search for content, view it, mark it up, log it, add subclips, drop it into your production systems and so on, and then of course be able to share that media as well. But again, as we said, all that media is centralized in some form or fashion here, but in a cloud environment, we're able to then pull it all together into cloud storage, but then also we're going to talk about how we integrate them within the Cloudian environment there as well. So again, typical previews and so on that we have within the MAM system, make it quite easy to, run through the videos, run through PowerPoints. If you want to look at Word documents and things like that, we all have that. We have that capability basically to see all types of media as well within the system. As I mentioned, the AI searching as well. With AI, you're able to tag this media in an automated fashion, pennies on the minute, to be able to send proxy files to these services like AWS and Microsoft, IBM Watson and others, to be able to then have that media tagged with facial recognition, annotations like blue sky, green grass, trees, whatever it may be, and you're able to then search specifically for that, as well as speech to text. So you could actually go in, log an event, a news event or whatever, be able to go back and see where people said something or a phrase, and then be able to select that and then drop that into a production as well. All right, so we'll move forward. So what we've done is we've started out in the AWS Marketplace. So currently you could go up today, go ahead and log in and set up an eMAM system, put storage up in the cloud in S3. You can do remote edits through Premiere and Final Cut now as well. So we have Final Cut extensions available as well for looking into the MAM system. This is a great way just to turn this thing on. In an hour, I can be up and running and set up and go. And we've also got a hybrid mode. Now this is more of a custom design where we can actually set up a MAM system in your platform or a cloud platform of your choice, set up the storage in the cloud as well, and then of course do the remote editing from that cloud storage. But what's key though is we can then also connect with your local SAN and view what's on your local SAN there. The idea here is that if you want to keep media local, you can still do that, and then connect in an archive solution, the Cloudian archive solution, directly at your facility there, and then we can connect with that and then be able to make it available for everyone else to see. So again, you can kind of go through and add multiple locations of local SAN as well as the archive solution from Cloudian, and then be able to archive the media onto cost-effective storage. And with the combination of eMAM and Cloudian, you now have a very robust system with full, search across multiple locations, cloud storage as well, and then be able to cost-effectively store and archive media that you may need later. So if somebody's looking for a shot, an editor's looking for a shot, they find it, it's in location 1 on the Cloudian storage, archive storage, then you can go ahead and then be able to take that and then bring it into your production directly from the Cloudian storage after you restore it, and then drop it into your production there as well. So quite easy to do. This is more of a custom design and layout, but again, this does manage local and also cloud-based storage in there as well. Now, we do have some other options. So again, as we mentioned, there are remote edit users and so on with Premiere as well as Final Cut in there as well. We also work with different companies for remote edits as well. In this case here, showing Teradici. So we can connect to workspaces in the cloud using the Teradici platform. We also use technology from LucidLink, which gives you the ability to actually then stream and edit directly from S3 storage buckets. Typically, in this case, what happens is most will upload to the S3 storage, start cutting, editing, and everything else, and then once they're done, they can drop it onto the Cloudian archive storage and store it on a cost-effective platform there as well. And so, again, you're putting, again, on the Teradici side, you're actually putting the Adobe Premiere platform up on a workspace within the Teradici platform in this design here as well. So these are just some of the customers that we're working with. We do have many customers today that are working with strictly all cloud. We have some combinations where there are on-prem and in the cloud as well, and in multiple locations. The one that's doing all cloud, they have AWS, and then they could at any one point in time add, say, a Cloudian system for their local archive of the media as well to bring it down from the cloud and store it there. But again, different combinations of, with the eMAM platform, being able to share media, see it across all platforms, all locations, doesn't really matter. And again, these are all permission level settings that you can set to make those that media available. So again, with Cloudian and the eMAM combination, this really pulls together kind of an efficient way to edit, upload, edit, produce, deliver, and then archive in a cost-effective manner. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Chris and let him go through all the different technology from Cloudian.
Thanks, Chuck. Hi, everybody. I'm Christopher Cambridge, Solutions Architect with Cloudian. I'm just going to add a little bit more to our conversation today. Why would you use Cloudian? As Chuck mentioned, it's all about being cost-effective and scaling. Cloudian storage systems come in at a significantly reduced cost relative to AWS S3. And of course, if you're hosting the data yourself in your own data center, there's no egress charges. So most of our customers that use Cloudian for a media archive are doing it really to just save a lot of money on their monthly cloud bill. It's a one-time purchase. There's no gotchas with us. You're not going to get a big bill in a few years when it's time to re-up. And the other thing that's so great about the Cloudian clusters is that you can just expand and grow and grow and grow in place without having to do any major data migrations or moving a lot of data around because one thing's gone end of life and it's time for another. You can see here in this slide that we scale up to the exabyte level. You can continue to add nodes to a Cloudian cluster for years and years as your media archive grows, and maybe you're moving to 4K and 8K and looking for just a large, inexpensive repository to hold all of that really big media in. Cloudian's a great place to do that. It's okay to add, unlike nodes to the cluster. So if you start with a few nodes this year and you say you have a petabyte of storage, and then a few years down the road you want to grow to 4 or 5 petabytes, you can add in different nodes. That's just fine, and just keep growing. Everything in a Cloudian cluster speaks the S3 protocol natively, so there's no translations or gateways to go through. And of course, Cloudian cluster is cloud ready. Not only can you create your own hybrid cloud solution that works on-prem, but you can also tie into other cloud services directly, like AWS or Google Cloud or Azure. The Cloudian Hyperstore solution's got ways to shift and share data amongst all the different cloud providers. And that's kind of our value proposition. We have a great deal of S3 API compatibility, really the highest for any on-prem object storage solution. You can start small and grow very large. The cost is very inexpensive, and by configuring your cluster in different ways, you're able to get up to 14 nines of data durability, really guaranteeing that that media archive you're creating on-prem will stay there, will stay online, and the data will stay intact for just pretty much forever. And that's Cloudian with eMAM. So Audrey, back to you.
Excellent. I'd like to thank Chuck and Chris for their time today, to our audience for joining us as well. We do have some time for questions, so please be sure to enter any in the tab at the bottom of the screen if you haven't done so already. I also wanted to point out again that we've included content in the Attachments tab at the bottom of your screen, so please be sure to check this out as well. With that, I'll start with our first question. So first question is, can you back up and restore finished projects from Adobe Creative Suite? And I think this is to eMAM.
Yes, so on the eMAM platform, which stands for Enterprise Media Asset Management, basically what we're able to do is manage all of the projects along with the files that are associated with those projects within the eMAM platform. And then once they're ready to archive, we then take all of those project files and so on along with the media and then archive that onto the Cloudian system. So then what happens at that point, they can, if they need to go back to that particular project, they can just select that project and it'll restore then that project along with all the media files, and then they're ready to edit and go forward with that.
Awesome. Thanks, Chuck. I'll move into our next question. How easy is it to move data between different storage locations?
I think that's for eMAM. So the idea is a couple of ways. So if it's brought into local SANs, we can deliver that basically right away as you ingest media. Typically our customers do this, but ingest the media and then it goes right to Cloudian for the archive. So at least you have a backup system of that. The originals and proxies can be placed locally or in the cloud as well. And then if you need, let's say, to localize the media through the eMAM system, I can select media and just hit a download button or a delivery button to move it to a specific location as well. So we actually become that data mover, and we're also like more of a visual data mover as well. So rather than just looking at a bunch of files and so on, I can actually visually see a thumbnail in the video, select all the media that I want, and then either download that directly onto a workstation or then deliver it specifically to a location or another facility for doing local processing and editing as well. So quite easy to do, and it's all set up through workflows and so on within the eMAM system, which are all menu driven, by the way. It doesn't require any programming and scripting and things like that. So yes, quite easy.
Great, thanks, Chuck. I think this one goes to Cloudian. How does the cost of Cloudian compare to AWS?
It sort of depends on how much Cloudian we're talking about, but generally speaking, when you get around the petabyte level, we tend to come in at about a third of the cost of AWS, and that's not including no egress fees. So AWS will charge you for every byte of data you pull out of S3 to actually utilize in some fashion, whereas, of course, a Cloudian system providing S3 on-prem in your data center, you're not going to charge yourself egress fees. So the cost tends to come in well under a third.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Chris. I think another one to you. Can I use Cloudian for data storage outside of the MAM?
Well, sure. I mean, Cloudian's Hyperstore is S3 as a service in your data center. So it really is just that S3 protocol, S3 API, same thing that AWS provides in the cloud. And you can use that for any piece of software that speaks S3. Some common stuff in the media world are like Aspera or File Catalyst can pull data from and land data on S3. Outside of that, backup applications like Rubik, Veeam, Veritas, Commvault often use S3 as a replacement for a tape archive. So yeah, it really is S3 as a service in your data center, and you can provide that service to anything that wants to speak S3 to store and retrieve data.
Excellent. I think this one's back over to Chuck. Can you search across assets stored in multiple locations?
Yes, you can. So the idea really is that once you upload the media, we set up what we call an ingest profile. So that profile describes basically where that file goes, the original and the proxy, and maybe even a mezzanine copy. Some of our clients actually use mezzanine copies as kind of a proxy or offline edit mode as well. So it's described as specifically where those go. And so let's say that we store it in location number 1, and we put it automatically onto the Cloudian archive system. So we store it there, but we also have a copy maybe in the cloud as well. And so that could happen across all locations, all cloud-based storage. Doesn't really matter for us. As long as we have a connection, you want us to manage it, you can visually then see any bit of that data via a simple search, like looking for shots of a park, and so on through AI, maybe AI tag media and so on. I would then search across location 1, 2, and 3, and then plus maybe the cloud storage as well. So we kind of facilitate that search, and it just adds more value to what you're storing. So again, keep pushing that AI technology side, but if you do use AI, all of the stored files on the Cloudian archive system become very valuable to you, because I could look back at any shot, anything that anybody said years ago in a video and so on, in an interview or whatever it may be, and then be able to pull that up and put it into production, but across any one of those locations if I have permission to look into that specific location. So yeah, quite easy to find.
Thanks for that. And I think we have one last question here. How hard is it to grow a Hyperstore cluster?
It's easy. When it comes time to grow your cluster, when you're filling up, you can just place an order with Cloudian for more storage. We will ship out more boxes. They'll be installed in your racks, and within a few days or a couple weeks, the data will rebalance and the new data become available. It's all very automated. It's all very easy. It's just a few clicks in a web GUI to bring more data storage capacity online in a Cloudian cluster.
Great. Thanks again, Chuck and Chris. Really appreciate it. That concludes our questions for the day.